I, al- I always forget to put myself on. Just expect, this big stupid picture of me, the, the podcast of me, my stupid face. Anyway, if you think I'm growing a beard, and I didn't want to grow a beard because there's something wrong with my skin. I've got to see a dermatologist. That's all sorted, so I've got to see him, and it's just horrendous what I'm going through because it itches and it burns me at the same time. So I'm actually burning, and I'm very. That's why you see me doing this all the time because I'm itchy. Um, but now it's burning. It's gone worse, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible. I've got two halves tonight. Actually, I've got two halves. I'm going to do a little murder now. Yes, that's why you see this thing in the background here, which is good, isn't it? God. Anyway, and it's amazing to see what went through there. What people standing in the dock, you know, innocent people, guilty people. And I've got one tonight that I'm going to leave it to your own discretion whether it's a guilty or not guilty verdict and what you think. Okay, so I'll be doing that, and I've got my favourite artist in the world with me, and there he is. He's great, this fella. Honestly, he's an artist that we all should be proud of. Honestly, we should be proud of this man. I call him a great friend. I love him dearly. I love all his family, by the way. They're all nice. Every one of them are nice. They're just like him, like Anthony. And there he is, just the lovely man himself. Hey, Anthony.
Good evening, Frank of the Burning Beard. Oh, sorry to hear that, mate.
Yeah, it's shocking, because what it is, Anthony, I don't know what it is. When I seen a dermatologist a couple of years ago, I mentioned this, and he said, "Look," he said, "everybody has a fungi underneath the skin and the face. Everybody."
Yeah.
He said, "The unfortunate thing with you is that it comes out." He said, "It's very rare that it comes out on people." He said, "But you're one of the few that it does." And I
Yeah.
went, "Oh." So anyway, anyway, I got hold of him a week or two ago, and I said to him, "Listen, I'm awfully sorry." I said, "But this is getting worse." I had ointments, he gave me ointments and this other thing. And I've got to go back and see him. But they're trying to find out when I can go and see him. But I'm definitely going to see him. So I'm waiting for the appointment, the date of the appointment. And it's just irritating. I can't shave. I can't shave. It kills me. It really kills me, though. Anyway, so I'm going to go through a few messages here. The lovely people out there. Evening, Frank, and your guest, Anthony. Looking forward to another informative event. Thank you, Arthur Sculpture.
Evening, Arthur. Me too.
Evening, Frank. Hope you're well, bro. You never walk alone, says JK. Fella JK. And how about this name? Obama bin Laden. It's me, Obama bin Laden. I love these people. JK says, I had a little book at the Hollywood video yesterday. Oh, yeah. A little look, I'm sorry, not a little book. A little look at the Hollywood video yesterday. Did you enjoy it? And Norman says, evening, Frank and Anthony. Well, what I'm going to do tonight, he's great, Norman, and he uses his wife's thing, to come on. And I was calling them,
Oh,
and I'm
even
saying, "Oh, where's the lovely Anne?" And silly, listen, my name's
Norman.
Norman.
Oh,
So I thought
evening,
that
Norman. Thank you.
I thought that was fun, to be honest. When he said my name's Norman, and me saying, the lovely Anne. Anyway, we all. What I want to do, Anthony and people, is this. I want to do a trial, and in the second half, after the clip, I'll be talking about. Victoria Cross holders, Liverpool Victoria Cross holders, which is fantastic. I'll be talking about some people that you've never even heard of from Liverpool who's got a Victoria Cross. So I'll be talking about them. Also, I'll be showing, like during this first half, I'll be showing some pictures, slides of things. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of what I'll be showing. I'm just going through the history of it. I hope you can see that.
Yeah.
I know that. Can you see that, Anthony?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's the underneath of. It's great actor. It's a cracking. It's one of my favourite pictures, and it's God blimey, can't get it right because of that big light. It's one of the. It's a picture down by the pier head, and it's underneath the overhead railway.
Wow.
As I said, it's one of my favourite pictures. It really is. And I love it, because this is what I want to be talking about certain things in Liverpool history. And I know there's a lot of people on there. I know there's a lot of people on here who are football fans, I'll be talking to George Scott and Marios tomorrow night about the football. So, no football. I'll just go through these before I start this. Murder trial, okay, or the murder anyway. And Stephen Snape says Obama's contribution should make for some explosive interaction. You wouldn't, Coco. Norman says, well done on 380 subscribers, Frank. Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. That's lovely there. Gary Rigby, evening. And he says, the overheads, yeah. Shane McGowan, love Shane. He always sends us pints.
Evening, Shane.
He'll have a alcoholics.
Nice pints.
Isn't that lovely, though? It's just a matter of, getting the interaction between lots of people and things, like this. Mark Curtis, even if Frank and Anthony, I'm away in Newcastle, so getting off now. See you both next week. Take care, both of you. Isn't that lovely?
It is.
In Newcastle.
Safe journey.
Yeah, isn't that lovely? He sends them through. He sends them through a message to us, which is lovely, and the rest of everybody. Anyway, what I'll do now, people, is the body in the sack murder. The body in the sack murder. And it's happened, believe it or not, in 1913. Yes, 1913. And what has happened was on the December the 11th. Now, this particular shop, it's a tarpaulin shop. And it's in Old Hall Street, right in the city centre, Old Hall Street. And there's a Miss Bradshaw who works there. And she's the sister. she's part owner of the shop, put it that way, Miss Bradshaw, with her brother, this tarpaulin thing. Now, tarpaulin then, Anthony, was very important, tarpaulin, for cover,
Yeah.
For ships,
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
trucks, you name it, tarpaulin, even horse and carts, tarpaulin was a very, very important thing. It really was, simply because tarpaulin, well, it's like, I'll tell you what it's like today. It's like a television. It's like a television. It's a must-need thing. Everybody wants a television, so they buy a every home has a television, if you know what I mean. And every conceivable transport thing, including ships, had tarpaulin. So you can imagine what was going into that particular shop.
Yeah.
And I'll just mention these a minute. I'm Liverpool mad, Frank. Everything to do with Liverpool. My family has a long history with the city. Liverpool, alongside my family, are my life, says Norman. Thank you. Thank you.
Me too.
That is, though, that's a great comment, isn't it, really? Simply because Liverpool's in our blood. It really is. The city I'm talking about, the history of it.
Yeah.
And Redbird made the most hard. Absolutely, Redbird. Absolutely. And Norman says, it's very important, the history of Liverpool. As a city, as a whole, is spoken about. Liverpool has given so much to the world. You're spot on.
Yeah.
You are so right there, because
Totally
Liverpool,
agree.
do you know what it reminds me of? I'll tell you what Liverpool reminds me of with other cities. It's like a footballer. It's like a footballer. And, when we talk about footballers who are underrated, the likes of Terry McDermott was underrated at the time he was playing. Terry McDermott was one of the best midfielders we've ever had. Ray Kennedy, the same, so underrated. Even Roger Hunt was underrated by most of the nation, because they loved Jimmy Greaves, and they wanted Jimmy Greaves to be playing in the 1966 World Cup final, as you know. And so Liverpool, to me, is one of the most underrated cities in the world. And people forget that Liverpool has more connections with America than any other European city.
Absolutely.
It's incredible what we have, Anthony. It's incredible.
Well, the closest thing in the blood, so to speak, in real life to walking around the streets of Liverpool is walking around the streets of New York.
Yes.
I'd heard about that, but we never went. But Lainey and I went in quite a long time ago, 1999, and it's exactly that. The energy of New York is just totally Liverpool, just totally.
Well, John Lennon said it, didn't he? John Lennon said, it just reminds me of Liverpool. He said, the only difference between here and Liverpool, I don't get mobbed in New York. Whereas in Liverpool, I'd be mobbed. He says, and the people just say, hiya, John, I love your work and whatever. That's what he said. The first time I ever heard about Liverpool being very much like New York was a playwright called Alan Owen. He was a Welsh fella, but he was Scouser by, he was an adopted Scouser. And he went over there in the 60s, I'm sorry. And when he was walking around for the first time, he said, blimey, he said, it's like walking through Liverpool. He said, even the people are the same. I think it's because of support, to be honest.
it's a poor thing, and I think the port, certainly initially in the early days of both cities, generated most of the income, and the labour force, and then there's just like this knock-on ripple, isn't it, throughout the people, and I just got the. It's a strange one, but talking in our point of view, when you walk around England, and someone occasionally will say to you, in a pub or whatever, and what do you do? And you tell them, I'm an artist. There's a varying look in England, of one that they look at you as if you're taking the mickey out of them, and B, it's like a non-understanding, and you say, really, okay, because you don't get it. But in New York, they get it totally. I was in my element, New York. Could live only one other place on the planet, Frank, that I could, and with Lainey and the kids could feasibly live, and that would be New York.
A few said that actually. A few said you're not the only one, and it's
just yeah.
Well, it proves a bit John Lennon, didn't it? It really proves a bit John Lennon when he turned around and said, it's like Liverpool. And Alan Owen said exactly the same, going back to the 60s. He said, it's just like Liverpool, walking around Liverpool. That was the first time he ever went there. But my make on, excuse me, my slant on that, or the caveat, is if John Lennon hadn't met Yoko Ono, I don't think he would have been living in New York, and I don't think he would have. I think he'd still be alive today. That's in my opinion.
Yeah.
So there's all caveats, isn't there, with things?
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, there could be a great program led by your wonderful self, Frank, about if someone hadn't got on that bus or that plane and gone to that place, or
Yeah, well, strangely enough, I had an ambition to do a little documentary. I would have loved to have done it. If I would have had the money, I would have done it myself, because I wanted to go to Dublin, obviously film here, film over in Dublin, go to Naples, film there, and New York, Ellis Island, because I wanted to talk about the migrants coming over into Liverpool on the way to America. They had to come to Liverpool because this was the gateway, as you know, to the New World for many years. And at the time, I was thinking, now I'm going back. I'm going back to around 2014, 2015. But I'm not going to go into it. But here's what I said. I wanted the Jews as well, to film about the Jews coming through Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
And then going over to America. But all these people, the Italians, the Jewish people, the Irish, as you know, these are the three major people I wanted to film. And we know that there was communities, there was the Jewish community because they stayed, the Italian community because there was a little Italy here, they stayed, and obviously the Irish quarter because they stayed as well. And all these people were making their way over to America. So they decided to stay. They said, this is great here. So they decided to stay, and they made communities. Well, I wanted to do a little documentary. Excuse me. I wanted to do a documentary about these particular people and then get over to Ellis Island and look for these certain names, including my mother's name, the Valenti family and the D'Ambrosio family. So I was going to talk about those people. I was going to talk about some great people, left Liverpool
Yeah.
on the way to America. There was a group of Mormons, and they stayed in Liverpool. And one of them was at a Bad Apple. Bad Apple,
Wow.
this Mormon. And they were here. They were here for about a year. And this little Bad Apple, when he finally got over to America with his family, he was only a young lad. And when he finally got over to America, the Bad Apple turned really bad because do you know what he became known as? You know this name, Butch Cassidy.
Wow.
Butch Cassidy.
What a lovely. Wow.
So the stories like that, which are absolutely fantastic. And the Italian singers, the Cricchetti family, for example, the Cricchetti, there was a young lad, named Dino Cricchetti. He became Dean Martin. So there's things like that. I wanted to do this little doc about it.
That would be a fantastic thing to do. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I mean, obviously you do, and the people who were with us do. The the enormity of starting a new life in a strange country with the Italians, with the Irish, with the Jewish, with all of us, in New York and in Liverpool all those years ago. Cannot be underestimated. And how possibly could you imagine as someone in that realm of poverty, and it was dire poverty, becomes this shining star, this meteor of like inspiration. Lennon on one side, George Gershwin in New York, and the like. And, wow. All
Yeah,
from immigration.
yeah, that's it. That's all it was all about. And I wanted to do this documentary, and it was absolutely wonderful because, my plan was great. It was absolutely great. And I said, if I can put this out, it'll be wonderful. Not for just the people of Liverpool, but also for the Italian community, both here and in America, but also for the Irish community, not just there, but also in America. And again, with the Jewish people, not just there, but also in America. Because I was going to show you where the Irish were, the Irish Quarter over there. I was
Yeah.
going to show where the Jewish community was as well over there, and also Little Italy. And I was going to compare our Little Italy, Liverpool's Little Italy, with the New York one. I was going to the Irish Quarter also, and also about the Jewish community, because people don't realise about the Jews. They were banned from working. Did you know that? So what they had to do for years, and I'm talking for years, they had to go around sewing. So, asking people if they had any tears in the whatever, clothing or anything. And I'm talking for years here. I'm talking right up to the 19th century. So that's how they became tailors. Did you know that?
No, I didn't
And
know that.
they made the uniforms in both World Wars for the soldiers, both in America and here. So, and even the buttons, they made the buttons for the uniforms. And that's how they were making the money. That's how they became tailors here. I'm talking about Liverpool, but I'm also talking about, if you could imagine me going up to Seymour Street in and around there filming, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it breaks and I'm in New York and I'm filming the same scene but in New York of tailors, Jewish tailors in New York.
Frank, you've got to make the program. Make the programs for here for now, and you know, one week is from Little Italy to the Big Apple, and
Yeah.
and the Irish, and that connection.
Yeah, that was the plan, to go to Naples. I had streets plans out. I went there a few years ago, and I went, this will be ideal. I was with my ex then, and I said, this is ideal for what I want to do. And she said, that'll be great, that. I said, I know. I said, just imagine filming here, because that's where they left the port of Napoli to get to Liverpool. And there is some, actually, you're not going to believe this, the passaggio, what you call a passaggio. And what that was, it was a walk from Italy right through to the likes of the northern part of France, so that they could get ships over to Dover. Would you believe that? And then they walked to Liverpool because they were saving the money, they were saving the fare to get to Italy. So I would have liked to, with a map, of course, but I would have liked to have reconstructed that and reconstructed, the ship movement going over, coming to Liverpool and going over to America. For all the people, by the way. All the Chinese did it. Chinese walked through China right through.
Absolutely. The whole cultural value and legacy of these people is kind of lost in amongst everything else. But the architecture, the buildings, the education, everything planned here. I've not been to Italy, never been. Laney's been, and the kids have kind of been. And the one place everyone who professes to be a painter or an artist should go on this planet is Italy.
Florence, Firenze.
The lights, the mood, the changes, the buildings, I've not been there yet.
You've put us on your bucket list, please, Anthony.
Oh, it's on, Tony.
Yeah. Tony. You've got to go. I love Italy. It's one of the most beautifulest countries. But as you said, as an artist, you're an artist. You're an international artist. And, if you ever get to... I went to a little mad place. It was a place called Pestum. Anyway, I went in, and I was dying for a cup of tea or whatever, and I said, "Oh, water." So I walked into this. It was a very old building. So I walked into this, this shop that sold water and cups of tea and cups of coffee and full of soft drinks. And I walked in and I looked, and what it was, where the counter was. And, the person serving behind on the wall, flat wall, was this mural. The mural. And I said, how old is that? 2,000 years old.
Wow.
2,000.
Oh.
And, I never took a picture or anything. And, do you know where something like, you go, oh, why didn't I take that picture? And I was so sad, So that's a little regret I have. But anyway, I'll have to get on with this. There's Mark Simons. Now, here's a good thing here. Mark Simons says about Ferranti. Mark Ferranti. His name was Paolo. Anyway, Mark Paolo Ferranti was Liverpool's electrical genius, born in Bold Street. In fact, Mark, his house is still there, and I show it to people. I actually show Ferranti's house. He was Liverpool's greatest inventor, and he had 73, I think, 73 inventions. One of his greatest was the grid, and he went down to London, and that grid, electrical grid, lit up half of London with electric light, and also Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace. How about that? And that's the lad's born to Italian parents, by the way. Born to Italian parents. Was Signor Ferranti, an incredible inventor. And he was born in the top of Bold Street, and his house is still there. And I show where the house is. I show people, from where anyone. Could be with you just walking down for a cup of tea. That's where that Ferranti fella lived.
Yeah,
and not many
people on the show. Just amazing. And we live and grow amongst it.
Yes.
That's why
as I've mentioned many times, when you're walking through Liverpool, you don't realise the history that we've given the world. Not only given the world, but the history beneath your feet. As you're treading, the pavements, you're treading the road.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the way we live in the world, really. We accept what we see, and what we see is a bus stop and a whatever, and that's sometimes all we notice when there's so much, around us.
I've just got to say hello to this fella, Jamie Phillips. Jamie Phillips is one of the nicest people, and he's a big red. He's big, massive, and he's got a great show. And I go on, I comment sometimes, but he always says, get onto the Frank Carlyle podcast, which I'm very appreciative of. And thank you, Jamie. Tonight it's a football show. It's a historical show, I'm afraid. And he has his little girl, she went into hospital and she had a life-saving operation on her spine. 8.5 hours it was. I think it was 8.5 that they operated on a little girl, a lovely little girl. But, she's recovering, which is the main thing. And, all our prayers and everything else went out to Jamie and his lovely family. And he's a big head. I've had him on my podcast, as Jamie.
Footy show.
Anyway, I'll have to carry on with this bloody murder tonight. Just after Norman, what have I found on my trips to Italy supporting the Reds is the older generation are respected for their wisdom and treated very well. Yes. Yeah. Well, you say that they treat the elderly well in Italy. Of course they do. They've got much respect. It's only one of the few countries that you can walk in a shop and walk around and look at things without someone grabbing you, forcing you to buy something. That's what I find. Right, I'm going to carry on now, Anthony, people, with this.
Onwards, Sherlock.
Yeah, I'll have to. I'll have to. Anyway, as I said, Miss Bradshaw, the shop wasn't open. The little shop was just locked up. It was just locked. And when the workers went to open it, the shop workers themselves, when they went to, not open it, but, just to walk in, they found it locked. And that was the unfortunate thing with this. They found it locked. So the shop was always open every morning on time. It always opened on time. So when the workers came to go in, two young lads and a young girl to go in and just start the work, and they'd see Miss Bradshaw there. So they didn't know what to do. So they contacted a brother. Now, a brother came down, John Bradshaw. He came down because he was worried. He was worried when he got there because he found it locked. He found it locked. So he opened it up. And when he opened it up, there was no one there. Nobody there. Right? No one there. So he got worried. So he called the police. He called the police. So by the time the police arrived, they were looking around and they couldn't find anybody. Then they got a call. Where there was something jammed in the lock of the Liverpool Leeds Canal. That just went right out into the Mersey, as you know. The Liverpool Leeds Canal leads right out into the Mersey. So they found something there, and it was a sack. So when they dragged it out, the sack contained a body. So when they examined the body, it was that of Miss Bradshaw. Of Miss Bradshaw. Now, when you look at it, Anthony, who do you think the first people they had to interview about this particular murder? Who were going to be the people?
First would be the brother, and then
the
neighbours, or the.
Okay. But when they investigated her home, what they found, that she hadn't slept in a bed. She hadn't slept in a bed. She hadn't been home.
Yeah.
Okay. She hadn't been home. And also, if she hadn't been slept in her home, she must have been murdered the night before.
Yeah.
Must have been murdered the night before because she always went home. She always made her way home. Prepare for work the next day and getting in on time to open up the shop for the workers, for the two young lads and the young girl. But it never happened. So they became suspects. So they started talking to the young girl, Miss Venables, because when Miss Venables left the night before, she said, I cleaned up and I left two lads in charge. The two lads who worked there. And that was George Summer and Samuel Elliott. One, Summers was 20, and Elliott was 18. So when you look at it, these two young lads was left tidying up, putting everything straight, closing up the shop, closing it up. But what you've got to think of as well, who's going to lock up? Because they never had keys. But they said, we just closed up the shop. Miss Bradshaw locked up, like a shutter pulled down. She locked that up. She locked the doors as well. But she locked the doors from the inside. So if she locked the doors from the inside, there must have been a back way where she went out, which she did. So the shutters were down. And the lads just got off. They just went home as usual. He just went home. The next day they came, as mentioned, couldn't get into the shop, couldn't access the shop because it was locked. The young girl, Miss Venables, again couldn't access the shop. So they were muttering between themselves, what shall we do? And they waited around because they waited for about an hour. And the police said, well, why did you wait an hour? Why didn't they said, well, we thought that she might have been late for once. And that's why we got hold of her brother. So anyway, that was December the 11th. So you've got to look at December the 11th, because what's on top of you now? With December the 11th, what's on top of you?
Well, you come down to Christmas.
Exactly. It's 2 weeks exactly before Christmas. 2 weeks before Christmas. Now, another thing which was very, very important. It's not like today, Anthony and people. It's not like today. Back in those days, what was traded for the tarpaulin wasn't like bank checks or anything. It was all cash. And that cash included gold sovereigns and silver florins. See what I mean, Anthony?
Yeah.
Because a gold sovereign and even a silver florin is worth money abroad. You could exchange it. It's just like when you go on holiday today, you bring your cards, you can do your card anywhere, buy anything. But it's just going back to the day. If you had £1 note, you couldn't go and spend it, say, like in America or in France. But you could spend a florin and you could spend...
gold and silver.
It's gold and silver, you see. And it's still prevalent today, gold and silver. I was talking to a fella once, and he ended up skint. He ended up with no money at all while he was on holiday, and he was in Spain. And what he had a gold chain around his neck and a gold ring, and he sold them. So you can sell gold. You can actually sell gold to get your money, to get some money. And that's what it's all about. So back in the day, the likes of 1911, you could exchange gold for anything you wanted in any country in the world. So you see where I'm coming from here?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, when Bradshaw informed the police, and they asked the others, well, we waited for her to come down. So the police were automatically on the two lads. Why didn't you call the police? Well, they knew that she had a brother. And again, as they said, well, we tried to, she could have easily have been late. And that's why we waited. But they emphasised, the police, but she's never late. Why didn't you inform us? Now, don't forget what young Miss Venables said. She said that she left at 6:10 to catch the tram home and left Summer and Elliot to clean up, to tidy up all the bits and bobs and whatever, while Miss Bradshaw was still there. And they left when everything was done, and the door was locked. The door was gone. It was locked. And as I said, the only way in now would have been through the back way. But the back door was always locked. But she had the key. And who else do you think has a key as well?
Possibly only his brother.
Yes, yes, a brother. So there was only two keys available. Obviously, the two young lads and Miss Venables weren't allowed to have a key for obvious reasons. They weren't allowed to have a key. So when the police came, they did a thorough search. And as I said, they went up to her home, found out where she lived. And when she, unfortunately, when she never arrived home, they found a bed still. Everything was tidy in the home, everything. A bed hadn't been slept in. So therefore, she hadn't made her way home.
Yeah.
So after Bradshaw informing the police about this, there was a massive police search. And all the staff, as I said, they were questioned. Well, there was only 3 staff anyway. And all seemed shocked. Everybody was shocked. The 2 lads, Miss Venables, they were all shocked. Anyway, when they found this body in the sack in the Liverpool Leeds Canal, and they discovered that it was Miss Bradshaw, a murder inquiry was launched. Now, what the police asked was this: did Miss Bradshaw know the assailant or assailants? Did she know them? Because inside the shop, there was hardly any disturbance. No disturbance whatsoever. As though a struggle went on. So what was missing in there? What do you think was missing?
Well, first thing that comes to mind, as you mentioned it, is the gold.
Yes, all the money, because
Sovereign.
all the money. Sorry, Anthony, what did you say? Well, all the money was left. It always went into this metal box, and it was about that long and about that deep, where all the coins went in, fitted in, even notes. So with it being that long, where am I? With it being that long, I'm like, man, everything is late. It's dragging the picture down. But anyway, about that long, all the proceeds of the day went in there every single day.
Yeah.
The sovereigns, the florins, the notes, all went. Even even the half crowns, even the threepenny bits, and every denomination went in there.
Yeah.
Everything like that. Right? So that was missing. It was gone. Okay. So the body, the police said, was thrown into the canal. It was thrown into the canal because hopefully it would have just went into the Mersey and just floated away.
Yeah.
To the Liverpool Bay and into the Irish Sea, never to be discovered again, never to be seen again. And that's why it was in there. But unfortunately for the culprit who did this, the locks closed. and the body was just hitting, the word the lock before it went out into sea. So it was unlucky for them. And don't forget, you could say, Anthony, well, why didn't he bring it down to the Mersey and throw it in there? Because it was so convenient where the shop was in Old Street for the canal. They didn't have to walk with a body all the way down to the Mersey to throw it in. So it was very convenient.
Yeah.
Just from only over the road from the shop. Only over the road from the shop. And also what you've got to think of as well is when everywhere's shut in Old Street, the shops and whatever, whoever did this had to wait until it was convenient so we wouldn't be seen dumping this sack. You see?
Yeah.
So they had to wait around. Now what you've got is this. On the same day, within the day of the murder, 2 suspects were named. Because the police turned around and said the victim, Miss Bradshaw, had to know her assailant or assailants. They had to know it. They had to know. She had to know them. Because when the body was found, she was partially clothed. And was proof. It was proof of no ordinary crime of robbery. So she was partly clothed. It was more than just a crime of robbery. It was a sexual crime. This is what the police came out and said. Okay?
Yeah.
Now then, who do you think the suspects were who was arrested?
From the sounds of that, probably be the 2 young lads who worked in the store.
Spot on. Now, don't forget, police, no matter how they look or whatever, they have to have, Anthony, a result. They have to have a result.
Yeah.
And they went on trial. They went on trial for the murder. They pleaded. They said, we haven't done this. We went straight home. We left Miss Bradshaw in the shop. We left her. And when they asked her, you see her going home? They said, no, we never ever seen her go home. Because she never ever locked up outside. She always locked up from the inside. But that they didn't take that into consideration. What else they didn't take into consideration was that there was a back door, a back way out. And also what they never taken into consideration, that a couple of witnesses had actually seen the 2 lads walking down around 6:20, 10 minutes after Miss Bradshaw walked away to get a tram home. They seen them walking down. Were they called as witnesses? No. They weren't called. So, how do you think the end of the trial went? I've got to finish this because I've got to have a break. As you know, the clip is waiting. How do you think they got on? Now, don't forget, they pleaded there. They said, we never done this. We went home.
And they never found the gold or silver on them?
No, not at all. Obviously, the police are going to search their homes, where they lived.
Yeah.
they never found anything. So they came out and said they hid the money somewhere. They hid the box. They hid the metal box, and they would have waited until it was safe for them to go and retrieve the box and, share the money between them. Now, the thing is, you've got to look as well. If you've done a murder, and you went back to the same place the next day and standing there, they were totally shocked. You couldn't even look shocked. That, it was an openless shop, the tarpaulin shop. The tarpaulin shop wasn't open, and they were totally shocked. And they were saying, well, she should be here. Never late. We'll hang on to see if she comes. We'll just hang on. And this is what they were saying. This is what the three of them were saying.
Yeah.
This is what the three of them were saying.
Which ring is true? Which you would?
Yeah. And to be shocked, even as Miss Bradshaw, not Miss Bradshaw, Miss Venables, Margaret Venables, they said, did the lad seem shocked? She said, yeah, we were all shocked. We were all shocked. So anyway, how do you think the verdict went against them?
I think they probably found him guilty. Circumstantial.
Okay.
He didn't need to have the money.
Okay.
They've made up the story, as you've said. They've hit the money. We'll find at some point.
Yeah.
That's like bamboozle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, unfortunately, they were found guilty, and they were hanged.
Ah, jeez.
They were hanged. Now, you've got to ask yourself, if the money wasn't found ever, right, even when they were hanged, they pleaded their innocence. They said, we haven't done this. Now, they were only 18 and 20 years of age. 18 and 20 years of age, both of them hanged.
Yeah.
And so what came out later was that there was a sailor, and for days, or a few days, he was eyeing up the shop. Late evening, well, early evening, I'm sorry, just before it shut.
Yeah.
But he was also of a day walking past to see who was going in. And obviously, as I said, tarpaulin was very, very expensive, but also it was a very rich commodity to have.
Yeah.
And ships needed them.
Yeah.
All this, the traffic, horses, carts, lorries that came out about now, they needed them. Everything needed tarpaulin, everything.
Yeah.
Lots of money was going in every single day into that shop. And this, unfortunately, this particular trial found two lads guilty who pleaded their innocence. The money was never found, and there was only one key that could open, well, two keys, one that opens up the front, that the brother had, but also one key that opens up the back. The brother also had. Now, when they checked the back door was locked. So I'll leave you to your own conclusions. And I'd like you out there to tell me, who do you think? Do you think the lads did it? Or do you think somebody else did it? Like that fella, for example, who was eyeing up the shop. Does he have anything to do with it? Okay. So I'll leave you to that, and I'll get back to you right after the break. Thank you.
The Port of Liverpool building was the first to be erected of the Three Graces in 1907, and the eminent architect was Sir Arnold Thornley. Looking at this stunning building, you could be forgiven if you thought that you were in Rome or Florence, Italy. Yet, we are here on Liverpool's famous waterfront and the New World Heritage Site. Here in the reception area, we have the Italian terrazzo with its wonderful mosaic compass. The Port of Liverpool building is mainly used for offices, and you can imagine the thousands of feet crossing over. Yet, very few know of the terrazzo and the compass's history. Italian migrants came over to Liverpool and plied their trade to make enough money for passage to America. That is how the building and others are graced with such fine Italian work as the terrazzo. Do we know the names of any of these talented men who laid the fabulous floor? You won't find them on a roll of honour, but you will find them tucked away in the terrazzo floor itself. Directly above the compass, you will find the central magnificent dome. Behind this unassuming door is a perfect example of Liverpool's architecture, unseen. It's a bit of a climb, as you can imagine, but when we get to the top, it's well worth it, because through this door is another gem which you will see on Liverpool's architecture unseen. We are now in the inner dome, and I'm sorry to keep it in the dark, because a matter of 60 years ago, we had a little Wales war, and it's been blacked out ever since. If you're scared of heights, look away now. Luckily enough, through restoration, the dome will be back to its former glory, and that means lighter shades like pastels, cream, where from ground level and even right up here in the heart of the dome, you'll be able to see the wonderful friezes and covings. During the Second World War, and in particular the May Blitz of 1941, the vibrations of the bombs damaged the structure of the central dome. The iron girders that you can see were cemented and bricked in after the war to stabilise the dome itself in case it toppled over. Earlier, we had seen the mark left by the terrazzo floor layers. And just like in modern times, our builders also left their mark. This is the pinnacle of the Port of Liverpool building, a part of Liverpool's architecture unseen. This is the cantilever staircase with its stained glass windows of every country throughout the old British Empire. Everything in the building has a nautical theme, right down to the lamp standards, as you can see, the dolphins. So the next time you walk through the Port of Liverpool, you'll be able to see some of the wonders for yourself of this magnificent building.
What do you think of that?
Absolutely. It's just it's a mind-blowing building. I love to look at it. When we worked on the waterfront, when we were lucky enough to be there for a while, we spent almost every day going in to the building. In part, there was a wonderful cafe bays in the nearly.
That's right. That's right.
And
that's what we used to do. We used to go down, break a film and go down and have a cup of tea.
I know. Isn't it? To be in that wonderful building and then being the company of people saying, I'll have a bacon butty, I'll have egg on toast or whatever. But yeah, mind blowing. I remember the day I discovered what you just mentioned about the dolphin, the lamppost kind of thing. I'd taken some photographs because we did some work for the building as well as our own stuff, and I was just snapping the lights really as it came through, and it was only when I looked at the photographs and went back the next day that the detail in the building is just amazing. It's detail.
Amazing. That's why I wanted to film in there, because what I didn't mention about those lamps, besides the dolphins, where you've got it going up and you've got the round thing where the light is actually in.
Yeah.
It's round, isn't it?
Yeah.
And do you know what that was? And I don't know why I never mentioned it. I must have just forgot about it. It was because and I said to Tony, I said, I said, can we go back and mention that? He said, no, it's all done now. And I went, okay. Because we've seen the bushes and everything. So I said, okay. And what it was a diver's helmet. You know, the old-fashioned diver's helmet.
Helmet, yeah. Yeah.
That's what it was. That's what it was. And anyway, I just want to thank I asked, who do you think done it? But before I get back onto Redbird and Norman, I'm going to my sponsors. I've got to thank my sponsors for sponsoring the Frank Carlyle Show. That's Gap Painting Services, and you can see it underneath there. And believe you me, these are first-class lads. They're fully insured, time served, great workers, clean, tidy, reliable. If they said to you, we'll be there at 9 o'clock, they'll be there at 9 o'clock. They're so professional. They're unbelievable. Christmas is on our doorstep. If you want something done for Christmas, get these lads in. Not only that, but as it says, NHS and OAPs get a special discount. They really do. So if you want something done for Christmas, please, Gap Painting Services is at your disposal. It really is. They are at your disposal. And as I said, the first class, believe you me, they are first class lads. Great workers, clean, tidy, as I said, and reliable, most importantly. They'll get the job done. They said it's going to take 2 days, it'll take 2 days. They said it's going to take a day, it'll take a day. And they leave you absolutely brilliant and all ready for Christmas. And as I said, NHS workers, OAPs, a special discount. So get them in. Even if, you've got family out there who are OAPs, just phone them. If they need any decorating done, they'll get in there and they'll get that discount. If your sister or your brother or anybody else who works with the NHS, get them in. Special discounts, as I said. So anyway, that's Gap Painting Services, and I do thank them for sponsoring this particular show. Just pays a few overheads that we have, haven't we? That's all. Anyway, let's get on to. Let's see what they say. Norman says, "What about the potential of customers doing it?" Okay. Or one customer, yeah. And Norman says, "It reminds me of Anger Mike, Clint Eastwood, the two young lads were hungry." Yes. Or somebody else. And Redbird, he says the brother did it. The brother did it. Now the thing is, you see, if anyone has got a backdoor key, and there was no keys on those lads, not one key, get on my nerves, this. There was no key on those lads. Nothing at all, haven't they? Nothing. And that's the sad indictment. Everything was locked up. And the only thing, as I said, there was no mess in the shop. No mess whatsoever. The only thing that was messy was the girl herself, was Miss Bradshaw. Her clothing disarrayed. Right? So it could have been made to look like that.
Yeah.
It could have been easily made to look like that. But I'm quite sure.
Or in the struggle.
That those lads were innocent of that crime. Because the police always need someone, for justice to be served. And bang, two lads who pleaded their innocence. Even going to the gallows, pleading their innocence. And it's a shame, really, that, innocent people were hanged, if you know what I mean. Norman says, could a customer have hid in the shop when open and struck when everybody went? Yeah, and the shop was locked. Yeah, could easily have been. Or could have easily, they knew what way she went home, how she exited the shop itself, going out the back way. So they could have waited for her. Could have easily have waited for her. Got her back in there because there was no struggle. Could have hit her, bang, whatever, put her unconscious, got it in, put her body in a sack, because they sold sacks as well, not just tarpaulin. They sold sacks as well. Put her in the sack, waited for everybody, the street to clear, dragged the body out, and rather bring it all the way down to the Mersey, they just brought it over the road to the canal and dropped it in. That's what's happened. Went back, took the money, and actually locked the door behind her.
Maybe she left with the money.
Yeah, but they always left the money on the premises, though.
Okay.
They always left the money on the premises. Because if that would have been someone, say, like I'm a devious type of person, I'd wait for her to get home because she lived on her own.
Yeah.
And then stole her, burgled her house and stole it. So rather than, they'd have to take her from the shop itself. They'd have to take her from the shop itself. So what do you think of that little murder one? Murder mystery.
Again, another one that asks more questions than it answers, really.
It does ask more questions than answers. The answer's given.
Catastrophic. Again, that it looks like two innocent young lads took them.
Yeah. Because they were working there, and as Norman says, whoever committed the crime could easily have removed the victim's key. Yes. He was about to remove the victim's key because the key wasn't found on it. Or was it? Because, as I said, there was only one other key, and that was the key of the brother. He could have easily have gone the back way, opened it up, went in, killed her, threw her in a sack, waited for everything to be, empty, the street, Old Hall Street, went over, dumped her body, came back the back way, got the money, locked the door, and went. Simple as that. Simple as that. And those two lads, as I said, who pleaded their innocence, were found guilty and they were hanged. That's the end of that.
Yeah.
Well, if you enjoyed it, thank you, people. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show some slides here. And, we talk about them. Very controversial. The first two are very controversial. And this is this. This is this. And that particular picture, what you see there, like in the foreground here, is the Albert Dock. Because that chimney there is the pump house. And over there, you've got the overhead railway. And in front of the overhead railway, you've got the custom house. Isn't that a magnificent picture?
Absolutely. Wonderful.
The Albert Dock, think about it, the pump house there, which is still there, the Albert Dock's still there.
Yeah.
Just imagine, Anthony, being there now, right, today, let's say today, and walking across that bridge, which we've passed loads of times, where those little boats are, barges. That's where that's where the Maritime Museum's more or less located, just a bit further, right? And then cross it over underneath the overhead railway, and then walking over towards the custom house.
Yeah.
Magnificent. Absolutely. Just imagine the custom house today, which was the same kind of stone as St. George's Hall. A bright stone.
It looks like St. George's Hall to me, Frank. It just looks beautiful.
It was bigger. It was bigger than St. George's Hall. But today, could you imagine that as a hotel?
Yeah.
Because that's what it would have been, a hotel or a museum. I think it would have been fantastic as a museum because the interior was unbelievable, apparently. you know, with these marble staircases.
Absolutely. Well, we've witnessed the summer of wonderful events at St George's Hall, with the Minton floor being raised, and
Yes.
thousands of people queuing up to go and see. Imagine how many thousands would have been to queue and walk through there.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't forget, you know, in the 80s, the wonderful council wanted to knock down the Albert Dock, only for Michael Heseltine, the Tory minister, for God's sake. He said, no, you're not knocking that down. Do you know the history of this? So that could have been wiped off. Those three things that are in that picture, only for Heseltine. You'd have the likes of the pump house, the Albert Dock, the overhead railway, and the custom house, all gone. All gone. So where the Albert Dock is now, if you think about it, that was just been a sea, you know, the river. That was been it. You was about, if you was to come down off Shabas Park, you was walked over and looked over the railing at just a river.
Yeah.
Like you can see on either side, if you go up or go down, you're just looking over towards the Wirral, and it's just a river. Whereas right in the middle of the river, you've got this magnificent piece of engineering, and that's it, the Albert Dock.
God bless you, Jesse Hartley.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is what it's all about. It was criminal behaviour, in my opinion, criminal vandalism that pulled down the custom house. Also, the overhead railway, the first of its kind in the world, electrified. It was electrified, and people can't fathom that. And we also had the very first electrified escalator, and people can't fathom that either in the world. They copied it. Everybody copied it. You go to New York, you see their overhead railway, copied. You go to Chicago, copied. You go to Tokyo, copied.
Yeah.
This is what Liverpool was all about.
And still would have been functional now, even more now.
Oh, you know, people say what was it being a magnificent tourist attraction. It was already a tourist attraction then, because you've got posters to go on to the overhead railway and see the docks. That's what it's a big poster saying here. Get on and see the docks for yourselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. That's that. I don't know where we are here, you know. I just don't know where we are. Anyway, oh yeah. And that's Liverpool going back. And when you think about Liverpool going back, it's only a very, very small place. And this is like in 1086. And they had the Doomsday Survey. And see, well, where's Liverpool there? Is there any such place as Liverpool? And there isn't a place called Liverpool. There isn't a place called Liverpool. Yet there was Toxteth before us. There was West Derby before us, because West Derby, believe it or not, had a castle, a Norman castle.
Yeah.
Think about that. Because there's a Castle Way now up in West Derby. And I used to have an image of, it was an overhead shot looking down from a plane, and you could see the outline of the Norman castle. But it was made of wood, you see. So when Liverpool built that castle in 1234, there was no need for the Norman castle in West Derby, because that was just made of wood. So they demolished it. but the outline is still there of the actual castle.
Well, about a mile from where we live is the Priory, the old church, the Priory, on the waterfront there on the Birkenhead side. And story goes that they were the monks who ran it, were the first ferry to take people from the Birkenhead side across that short expanse of river to the Liverpool side.
But if you think about it, it wasn't so short, it was very wide, because now it's all, what it is, it's all reclaimed land. Even, you say like the likes of Camel Airs, for example,
Yeah.
going right up to New Brighton and Seacombe, and that's all reclaimed land. And Liverpool itself, you've got the likes of the Liver Building and, the Albert Dock, and so that's all reclaimed land going right up. Right up north and south, so it was a lot wider, and the first ferry service was by the monks.
Yeah,
the monks to get people over from the other side of the water over to the fair and the markets at the castle, outside the castle. So they had the very first ferry service, and what it cost like a penny for an animal or a couple of animals and a farmer, for example, to come over to either barter or sell his cows or chickens or whatever. And that's what it pigs, all livestock. And this is what came over from the other side. And what the monks tried to do in the castle, well, not tried, they actually did. They knew that the fair was going to be great, and more people, especially labourers, artisans, were going to live there. And there's also soldiers living there as well, because there was a battery in Liverpool after when the castle was built. A battery for soldiers was also built right by St. Nick's Church. So therefore, and the tower in 1301. Yeah. So what had happened, Anthony? What had happened? These monks, they were very astute, very clever people. So what they decided to do was to build inside the castle, because they said to the sheriff, it'll bring income to you as well, So he said, okay, yeah, I'll get them in, do it. And what they actually wanted to do and build, and which they did, they built a brewery and a bakery. That's what they did inside the castle, a brewery and a bakery. And what else they also did, that people with the fair and everything else, they'd have to stay the night, or, and they seen people actually sleeping out. So they made a temporary hostel. And all it was made from was like sticks, with like sheeting over the top and hay at the bottom, so that people could sleep there. And they were actually charged for people sleeping in this temporary hostel. Very clever. And that's the way it was in Liverpool at this time. And as I said, we got our charter in 1207. 1207. It's unbelievable. And there it is. That's the Tower building, if you can imagine it. Tower building. And that was built in 1301. And St. Nick's Church, which is opposite, that was built around 1260. 1260. And it's so nice, isn't it? It really is so nice.
It's beautiful to have both those buildings still there,
Yeah.
And I do find that the churchyard of St. Nick's is one of the most therapeutic, peaceful areas of the city, just to sit.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
this this particular one, Anthony, is it's taken as King John hands over the Royal Charter on the 28th of August 1207. That's
wow.
when we became Liverpool. That's when we became Liverpool
Well, you
officially.
know, that's why we started the 100 Heads.
Yeah,
Was for the anniversary of 1207.
800 years. 800 years. It
Yeah.
was the 800th birthday.
And then when we did it and it launched, we were kind of sideways invited by the culture people to get involved in Culture Year, which was
Yeah.
the year after.
The following year.
But there was various members of the culture people who didn't want us, didn't saw any artistic merit in the 100 Heads. But thankfully the main people did.
Well, they wanted to say anyone with Liverpool, if you like. You know, the likes of your 100 Heads, which was a huge success. They did. They oh no, well, we never invited them. You know, we never. I used to go down. They used to send for me 3 times a week. The culture people. They never had a clue about Liverpool.
No.
Never had a clue. And they used to send for me. So I used to go down, and they're always asking me questions. Well, what's that and what's that and everything. And I said, listen, I said, I'm losing work here. I said, yeah, we're going to pay you. We will be paid. And I was going down for months. Ask me if I got paid.
Yeah.
No. Never got a penny off them.
You know what? There was. I listened to the radio going back a year or so before we got culture, and it was Cork who had got, I think, capital culture before us, before Liverpool. And there was an interview with a lot of established Cork artists, historians, writers, and they were saying this circus is coming to Liverpool now. They know nothing about your culture, your history, your artists, and they don't give a tuppenny stuff, but they will bring their circus in and the show will be theirs. And that's pretty much what happened to Liverpool, in that a lot of Liverpool that we would call legendary people and industry were not invited to be part of.
Left out. They were left out.
They were left out because it was easier. When I voiced this to a few journalist friends, I said, why are they not talking to artists and writers and actors that they don't know how to talk to you, so they bring a show in. And David Charters, journalist, Daily Post and Echo, such a lovely, wonderful man, and God bless him. When I voiced my idea for doing the 100 Heads as a tribute to the city of Liverpool through what I and Lainey saw its most valuable asset, which is its people, Italian, Irish, Scottish, we're all this melting pot of Liverpool people. So when I told him about that, he said, don't tell anyone about it. Let me do a piece. And he did a piece, took photographs, put it in the paper. So it was kind of stamped that someone is doing this thing. And it was primarily because the culture company were just taking whatever looked like a show and putting it in. And there was one particular Australian lady who they were flying to and from to the city, who was declaring what was good and what was not good. She was not good. She in particular felt that we were not worthy of a blow on a ragman's bugle, but not just us, many things. And she ultimately got gypped.
Yeah, they spent £500,000 on it as well.
Oh God!
Big failure on behalf of the capital of culture people.
Yeah. Well,
£500,000. They had to compensate her. I don't think that they could get it through the stupid heads that it was European capital of culture, not world capital of culture, European.
Yeah.
It was about Europe, and they're bringing in a woman from Australia. Nothing against Australians, but it was European.
Yeah.
I was fuming over that. Fuming.
Yeah.
But I was told to go. Another thing, they asked me to go down. I went down someplace. And I went in. It was in town somewhere. Anyway, I went in. And they said, look at this, Frank, look what we've done. And they put, there was a big screen and they put this thing up. And it was about Liverpool and New York. And I said, oh, this is going to be good. He said, we're twinning with New York. I said, absolutely brilliant. So as I'm sitting there, all of a sudden it came up about, certain things. Then it's had, and Liverpool, I fumed at this. I actually swore. I said, what the FNL is doing? And what it was, the Scottish fella, proper Scottish he was. I said, you haven't a clue, you. I've listened to you before. This is the capital of culture, people, by the way. I said, you haven't a clue. I said, I've been coming down here talking to you lot. I said, you haven't a clue. I've been coming for months. Anyway, what it was, when they showing this film and he was sending it over to New York, it said the Manchester to Liverpool Railway. I said, what the FNL is so? It's Liverpool to Manchester. Liverpool. They said, oh, it makes no difference, But I said, there won't. Because anybody with a little bit of brain cell in New York they'd say, oh, so Manchester there made the railway going into Liverpool, not the other way around. It's Liverpool to Manchester. Are you people thick? Because the most people who are on the European bloody committee, Capital of Culture committee, were from Manchester. Mike Story brought them in.
Yeah.
He brought them in. I said, what have you got them in for? Why can't we do it? We know our city inside out. I know people who present lots of things. Do you know what I wanted? I think I've mentioned this before. And I went to Frank Doran. And I said, listen, Frank, I've got an idea for the capital of culture. He said, what's that? I said, we've got to show Liverpool in a great light and what we've achieved over the years. What we have achieved. I said, you'd have to go from the likes of the dockside right up to Lime Street Station, right to Castle Street. And he said, what do you want? I said, well, first of all, I said, we'd have soldiers down, for example, down at the Pierhead in First World War uniforms, and also Second World War uniforms, not mingling together, but, like spread out, and people, talking to them about whoever's going to get in a uniform. I'd say the likes of students, historical students from all the universities, the 3 universities that are here, who know something about the First World War and the Second World War, talking about how Liverpool became pivotal. I said, and also, you could go back to say like Brunswick Dock and have sailors in 17th, 18th and 19th century garb. That sailors, because again, they were mobilised there to go everywhere, over to Ireland.
Yeah.
They were mobilised to go over to the Peninsular Wars and to fight Napoleon. Finally at Waterloo. This is what I was saying. I said, and you go up to the castle where you'll have a hologram, get Liverpool University to have a hologram of the castle right on the site. And you'll have people dressed in medieval stuff, giving the story about the castle, who lived there. Why was it built? When was it built? When it was knocked down? When it was finally demolished. I said, and go up to Lime Street. I said, and have people in Victorian gear about the railway system, talking about the Liverpool to Manchester Railway, who started it.
Yeah.
The first passenger railway system in the entire world. And have them in Lime Street, but you've got to get the Lion, our Lion, the oldest steam engine in the entire world, left. I said, and Manchester have got it. You've got to get it back off them. It's ours, not theirs. We lent them it, and they haven't give us it back. I said, Jimmy, get it back in Lime Street, put it on a platform. Just put it there. And have people in all this garb talking, Victorian garb, about the railway system.
Yeah.
And he went, so that's a good idea, that. I said, no, it's not a good idea. It's a brilliant idea. Do it. Do it. Now, it was a big no. And it's shocking to think that, I'm not just saying my idea. Not my, because it was a good idea. But other ideas, it's just like your 100 heads thinking as one, 100 Liverpool heads thinking as one. And they did, oh no, keep that away. That might be too good. Yeah, you see what I mean? They didn't want any hand taken off them.
And there was literally one hand full of people who said, no, we want to invite it in.
Yeah,
because I was actively shunning them, as was Lady. But the picture he's showing there, and King John, the loon that he was the instigator for me wanting to do it, and it became bigger than that, because we lost two of our most dearest people, my mum and our sister-in-law, and the 100 Heads became a memorial for them, and for other Liverpool people that we'd lost. And it got bigger and bigger. And so the culture people couldn't really ignore it, because they had nothing to put in blank diary pages,
Well, this is it, you see, and, at least, you were there. But it was after a fight. It was after a fight, because Liverpool people were being kept back. They were being kept back.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I was going to give a talk. I was going to give a speech. We were coming up to the November, and it was about Victoria Crosses. Funny enough, it was about Victoria Crosses, and it was going to be at St. George's Hall. And they said, I got told later on that they scuppered it because they wanted some person from outside talking about Liverpool, from outside. I thought, so this is what it was about. This is what it was about, and it was shocking. It really was shocking, and people enjoyed it. I'm not saying everything was terrible or whatever. People enjoyed it, but the most important thing is Liverpool people would have done it proud if they would have got hold of the reins, and I think there would have been a lot more coming from the capital culture, putting Liverpool on the high pedestal.
Yeah.
Which we did. We did go up, but it would have been a lot more better and a lot more proficient than what these people from outside offered us, and what gave us, not offered us. I was talking to Rod Owen. He was the Liverpool one overlord, and he became a good friend of mine, did Rod. And he said, "Do you know what, Frank?" He said, "It's a shame that they didn't bring in your idea of the hologram of the castle. And I can't understand why they didn't. Liverpool University would have been absolutely delighted to do that, and to have their students dressed in medieval, stuff."
The students would have graduated with full honours, and that would have been one hell of a wonderful piece of work to do. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you mentioned Rod, because he was a lovely gentleman, and in the weirdness of life, we mix with different people, and some we connect to, and some we don't. We too formed a great friendship with him, and he would come to all of the exhibitions, and I think he was just, even though he'd lived and worked in a different world, and obviously he was working for the Duke of Westminster and under license to cities all over the world. But when he was in Liverpool, I think his northernness took a great grip, because he's a Yorkshireman, isn't he?
Yes.
And I know he shine to you and you to him, and he did to us. And we were kind of not on the corporate ladder with him, but enjoyed many, many hours with him. He's a lovely, lovely man. And he was so, we managed to introduce him to a friend of ours who's an architect. And he's done some remarkable work over many years. But Rod was so engaged with people that he would say, "Well, give us your idea. What's your take? What would you do with that piece of land there? What would you do with that?" And our friend bounced an idea to him, and got a slot in the Liverpool 1 redevelopment, which wasn't on the cards, and neither of them were pushing, but it was just a positive dialogue between people, which, when people are engaged, they can create 101 marvelous things.
Well,
and I'm sorry he wasn't the first guy you spoke to on the on your plan, Frank, because it would have happened.
It's a shame, because I got presented with this. I'm going to show you what I got presented with. I never wear it, actually, but anyway, I got presented with this, and off-Rod, because I became their historical consultant. Are you aware of that? Yeah. I was their historical consultant, because they were saying what was here, what was there, and what. Anyway, I ended up naming 6 streets.
That's right. That's
right. Which I'm very proud of. I'm very humbled, actually. Our Francine was the best. She said to me, Dad, she said, why isn't your name underneath? I said, it's a behaviour. You can't show me name, you know, like King's Court, you know, Frank Carlyle underneath it. You know, it's like anything else. But anyway, do you want me to show you what I got off them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it came in this box, this big thing. Look at the size of this.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. And this is what I was presented with.
Oh, that's
Now,
special.
It's
Beautiful.
a Breitling. It's a Breitling watch.
Wow.
It's a Breitling now.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's good, isn't it? It's dead
It
heavy.
is. Absolutely.
It's not half heavy. As someone says, you'll have to keep your hands in your pockets all the time. Don't let anyone see that. And there's the certificate and everything, you know.
Oh,
Unbelievable. But that's what I was presented with.
beautiful trip.
Yeah, it was simply because is it's how can I put it? I think I was humbled, you know, put it that way. I was really humbled.
Yeah.
And he was having a big celebration, you know, when it finished, Liverpool won. And,
Yeah.
you know, there was like a bit of a party, you know, down in Lord Street, fully enough. The
Yeah.
office. So
Yeah.
I said, I'm getting off now because I was there on business. And I said, I'm getting off now, you know, I'll let you say it to it. And it was one of the girls. She said, no, hang on a second. Hang on, you know, I forget her name. And she said, oh, just hang on a sec, Frank, please. So she went and got Rod. And Rod said, you're not going. He said, come on. He said, come in here. So they went in. And they were giving out things. So I'm sitting there like a lemon, you know, and I'm going, oh, that's nice, you know, because these people who I got to know, you know, were getting like presents. And
Yeah.
anyway, my name was called. My name was called. I was given an envelope and I was given that. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, fantastic.
And that made up for all the disappointment I had with the capital culture, you know, because I got
Yeah.
absolutely zilch off them.
Yeah.
So,
No.
and Rod, as you
I
said,
respect.
was a gentleman.
Yeah, he was such a wonderful gentleman. Yeah.
And as Norman says here, I'll just go through these. As Norman says, it's an absolute fact. It's Liverpool to Manchester. Even Tory MP Michael Portillo said it on his programme a few years back. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Redbird, he says, most outsiders don't want to give our great city the credit for all the good it has done for the world. Yes.
I'm sorry, why? Why?
Exactly. Exactly. And Norman says, that's brilliant, Frank. I'm into my watches. And JK says, Breitling is quality. But, you know, I went to wear it one day and I couldn't get my coat. It's like that, you know, it's like that. I couldn't get me. Sod it, you know, never was.
Where would you wear it?
Exactly. Sit in the house with me. Yeah. That's about it. You know, I just want to go there just a couple before we finish. These are our first original streets, right?
Yeah.
And the very first street was Castle Street. That was the very first street. And the second street was Chapel Street, believe it or not, because that's when we built our church, St. Nick's. Well, it was St. Mary Delkeys then, but it's St. Mary, to give it its full title, it's St. Nicholas and St. Mary's today. So anyway, it's Chapel Street. Then Dale Street, but it wasn't called just Dale Street. It was called the Dale Street. The Dale Street. Because when you look, if you're outside, if you and I now, we're outside the town hall and we look down, you'd see a dip, a little dip it is, a little dip, then it rises again, by the Magistrates Court, it goes a little bit by Moorfields, then it goes a little dip. But anyway, it goes level again, then the dip down towards the Mersey Tunnel. Well, that was a dale. Because if you're outside the town hall and you walked along it just a little bit by Moorfields, that's where it started to dip. I'm talking long before Moorfields, by the way. And it went right down. It was a dale. It wasn't a valley. It was a dale. So it was, quite deep going toward the Mersey Tunnel as we know today, because the Mersey was there as well. Well, there was another river coming off the Mersey, to be honest, which we call the Pool. So that was the Dale Street. Then we have Bank Street, because this Bank Street was down there because of the banks of the Mersey. Because when I've mentioned that before, Bank Street, he said it was the banks there. I said, no, it's banks of the Mersey. And he went, oh, right, okay, which is now Water Street. Then we had, which was Peppard Street, which is now Old Old Street, because Old Old Street, it was Whiteacre Street first. It was Whiteacre. Because there was a fella named Peppard who lived there, who owned these acres of land, and it was like corn. Well, it wasn't not like corn, it was corn, and it was whitish. So it was called Whiteacre Street. Yeah. Then, as you know, the old hall was built there. Well, not the old hall, the new hall. That was built. And then it was too cold for them to stay in it. The Stanleys, well, it was the Stanleys or the Molyneux, anyway, whoever. It was too cold for them to stay in. So he said, oh, sod this, because of the wind coming off the Mersey.
Yeah.
We just left it to rack and ruin. So they renamed it Old Hall Street, because it was old now, the hall, you see. So they named it, then it finally was demolished. So Moore Street was belonged to one of the most prominent families in Liverpool at the time, along with the Stanleys, the Molyneux, and the Norrises. These became, very prominent. So they named a street called Moore Street. And what had happened, the Moores, they were noted for being parliamentarians. And the other three were noted for being royalists especially during the Civil War here. And unfortunately, when the royalists took over, they in 1642, the castle, they actually took the castle. What had happened was, it never lasted long. It didn't last long. So in November 1642, no, 1644, I'm getting the year mixed up, 1644, what had happened was that after they'd taken off the royalists, these parliamentarians ran up to the town hall and they got the royal seal, King John's royal seal, and smashed it up. So the seal we have today is not real. It's not the original. It was a copied one. Which they got totally wrong. Anyway, what had happened after the royal, after what the Moors did. The Moors, who were said were anti-royalists, they were also pro-parliamentarian. And when the royals came back eventually in 1660, it was changed again from Moore Street, because Moore, it wasn't changed then. It was changed before then, because even the parliamentarians couldn't get over that Colonel John Moore left the castle and escaped from the marauding Prince Rupert's men in June 1644. So they not only destroyed in November the royal seal, but they also scrubbed out the name Moore Street, and they named it Tithe Barn Street, because that's where the people had to pay their tithes, the taxes, in a barn in Tithe, what we know today as Tithe Barn Street. Moore Street, they had to go to Moore Street, pay the tithes, the taxes, in this barn that the Moors owned. So it became very appropriate that they scrubbed the name out Moore and renamed it Tithe Barn Street. And Juggler Street, as you can see there, that was a cracking little street, still there today, as we know, that leads into Exchange Flags from Dale Street. And that's where the jugglers used to gather, with the minstrels behind them and these other musicians and, people that they led down Juggler Street into Castle Street, to the castle, to, entertain the dignitaries there. But they were led by the jugglers. How about that?
That's brilliant. Didn't know that. Didn't know.
So, that's true. And they've got to finish. I didn't realise. Poor Jason will be screaming his head off. I don't know what I'll be doing next week, I'm being honest, but I will be doing the Titanic. I want to get something right, you see. I can't just come out and say, look at this and look at that. But I will do it. I will do it one night, one Monday. So I'll see you next Monday, Anthony, if you don't mind.
I would be proud and honoured, Frank. Love to be on the show.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. And I'm glad you enjoyed it tonight.
Really enjoyed it. I got a little bit of knowledge. Bamboozled by the court system once again, and justice in good old England.
Yes, and I'd just like to thank, besides good friend Anthony Brown, for coming in. I'd also like to thank my sponsors, Gap Painting Services. First class lads, as I said. And if you're OHP, if you're an NHS worker, get them in before Christmas if you need something to them, because there will be fantastic discounts just for you. And anyway, they're dead reasonable anyway, to be honest, whether you're not an OHP or whether you don't work for the NHS and you need something doing, get hold of that lot. Anyway, the most important people is you out there, because without you out there, there'd be no Frank Carlyle Show. Anthony wouldn't be sitting there either.
No.
Keeping me company, because I think it's really nice, to be honest, because Norman says, fantastic, both of you, in that lovely comment. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe and to press the like button as well. That's all you've got to do each week, whether you like the history or not. But I will be doing the Titanic, honestly, one day. I don't know what I'll be doing next week. It could be a load of history again. And we'll be looking forward to seeing Anthony. If you're a football fan, don't forget, tomorrow night. And on Friday night as well, I'll be doing one. Friday night, not, this is a football podcast. Tomorrow night and Friday night, Thursday night, Liverpool are playing in the Europa League. And hope to see you, all you football fans, tomorrow night. Thank you so much. See you next week, all your non-football fans and football fans tomorrow. Anthony, thank you so much. See you next week.
Welcome, Frank. Tune in tomorrow.
Oh, you're tuning in tomorrow. See what the lads have to say. Because, you know, like Arthur Schofield says, thank you, gents, for another fantastic evening. As always, take care of yourselves. Isn't that lovely?
You too.
Thank you so much. Got to finish now. Sorry. I've got to.